A lot of what you're seeing as attacks on me, quite frankly, are attacks on science, because all of the things that I have spoken about consistently from the very beginning have been fundamentally based on science.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, former chief medical advisor to President Biden, is set to testify on the Hill tomorrow on his part in the coronavirus pandemic. This is part of a larger investigation into COVID origins and the government's handling of the pandemic. This is Dr. Fauci's first time testifying since leaving his job at the end of 2022. Joining me now, chair of the Select Subcommittee on the Coronavirus Pandemic, Ohio Republican Congressman Brad Wenstrup. Chairman, thank you so much for joining us. So you're going to be questioning Dr. Fauci on the Hill tomorrow over pandemic decisions. I'm curious, what is your first question? What's the question on the top of your mind?
Well, there's several questions that'll be on the entire committee's mind, especially if you read the transcribed interview that we had with Dr. Fauci earlier. And it's interesting that he said everything was based on science, because during his transcribed interview, when we asked him where the 6 feet of distancing came from, he said it just sort of appeared. Well, that doesn't sound like science. We asked him if there was science behind the masking, and he said, no, not really. And especially when it came to children, there wasn't any science behind it. There are so many things that took place that aren't related to science, or if they are related to science, he ignored them. And let me give you an example. He seemed to only pay attention to any scientific article that tried to claim that COVID came from nature. But other articles, many articles written that would claim how it could have come from the lab, he never paid attention to, he never read them, is basically my takeaway when we had him before. So it's interesting he would make that comment about science. Look, this is a guy who's the highest paid person in the United States government, and his lack of accountability for so many things that took place, especially with like the grants for gain of function research, which he signed, gain of function research, which he was in favor of, and this was being done in Wuhan, China, with an adversary. Our tax dollars were going there, right at a place where we know that they are interested in making bioweapons, and certainly a virus that is changed to become more pathogenic is a problem. And of course, everyone knows about the exchange with Dr. Paul last year, where he said we weren't funding gain of function research, but Dr. Tabak, who was the former acting NIH director, has said that yes, we were funding gain of function research in Wuhan, China. And then after that, Dr. Fauci came out with a new definition for gain of function that he was thinking of, but they didn't change the NIH website until that time and not before.
Congressman, I got to ask you too, because, you know, we're talking about the coronavirus pandemic. Many people want to move forward from this, of course. Why is it important to go back and talk about what happened here? What does the committee hope to find out from all of this?
Well, if we don't investigate, we don't know what was going on and what was going on within our public health system. And the trust has been greatly diminished. What we need to do is find out what was done and make sure if things were done incorrectly or without science, then we got to make sure that that's not what the American people are told. And, or at least they get the honest truth. But we have to have policies going forward. I can start with the grant process where Dr. Fauci said it goes to an advisory board and all he does is sign the grant. He doesn't even know what's in it sometimes. And then we asked him about how there was no compliance, that the people that were getting the grant, EcoHealth Alliance, which is now debarred, weren't complying and submitting their periodic reports. And Dr. Fauci said to that, well, he has no idea about that. That's over in compliance. And we asked him about oversight over a dangerous process taking place in a lab in an adversarial country. What kind of oversight do we have? He says, basically, I wouldn't know how to do that. This is not a system that we can have in place. We have got to correct this. There has to be accountability, reliability in what the word is coming from our public health system.
Congressman, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate your time today. I didn't want to cut you off there, but we will be paying attention to what happens this week. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, take care.